When it was decided to put the bobiks above the thinking part of humanity, these bobiks, these balls, these Sobakoviches, they all rose above rational humanity. Intelligent humanity had to be exterminated, and in order to make them more obedient, they began to be united into a society. Here's an interesting topic about egregors. Egregors that are artificially created in our society. Egregors that forcibly gather people under themselves. Mostly these are children. This is the beginning, so to speak, of egregores, when young children are taught to be part of a community. And just try not to be part of the community. No, you'll immediately be labeled as some kind of traitor. But that's how it usually goes. Because not being with everyone else is frightening. The fear that lives in every person, not being with everyone, that's exactly how people are intimidated, how all of us are intimidated by fear. The fear of being killed, the fear of being mutilated, the fear that your life will be ruined. And people, yes, they try to adapt to the system in order to avoid at least some part of that fear in their fate. Well, for example, do you remember the Octabriata? That started from first grade, from the age of 7. They would pin some kind of little star on your chest. But did you really need it? And we were all Octabriata? But when you're 7 years old, can you really say, I don't want to be an Octabrionok? They pinned on your chest the image of some sun-faced boy who, as it turns out, died of syphilis of the brain and had suffered from syphilis from a young age. He traveled to Samara, to that very Samara Republic, where everything was communal. Women were communal, children were communal, everything was communal. Yes, that's where the first nurseries came from. He went there. Supposedly his mother sent him there. Well, I think that's obviously partly a lie, but we don't know, so we won't try to prove it. Sometimes it's not worth getting hung up on the little things, not worth focusing your mind on them, because little things take away from us. They take away a lot of our energy and understanding. They're just little things. They're unnecessary. They shouldn't enter our consciousness. We need to think in larger terms. Then you'll be able to see the whole situation from above. So our ingrained habits, our deep-seated fears that are instilled within us from early childhood, they truly enslave us and hold us back. Besides the fact that they enslave us, what does that look like? What does it look like for society as a whole? These fears, they connect us into certain organizations. To be like everyone else. We have to be like everyone else. We shouldn't stand out, we shouldn't raise our heads. God forbid you'll get your head chopped off right away so you don't step forward. So you won't be above everyone else. So these fears, they eat us up, they paralyze us. We need to get rid of our fears. We need to get rid of our fears because it's a slave-like feeling. Have you ever seen boys and girls who were raised in wealthy families? Have you? They don't have most of that inferiority complex that people from lower classes have. They're not afraid. They can answer you back. If you say something nasty to them, they'll answer you back even though you're older than they are. Why should he put up with it if you're being rude? It doesn't matter how old he is, he'll be rude back to you. Or at least he'll just respond. Is he wrong? This young man, the one an adult was rude to, was rude, lashed out, even verbally. It doesn't matter. But it seems like he's not even allowed to answer back. Why is that? That's how the cops keep pushing you down and controlling you. Some guy comes along, someone who was humiliated back in his school days. He wants to work out his inferiority complexes on someone. So that's who he brings in. Girls didn't want him when he was young. But when he became a cop, he just started taking what he wanted. To arrest and to take. But right now I want to talk to you about something else. Still about these societies. About the Octobrists, the pioneers. It's all about uniting children into groups. The youthful energy of children. It's very powerful. And when you unite them into groups, it gives an outlet for that energy. A lot of energy. That's a law of physics. It's not magic at all. Of course, this is sacred knowledge. Why is it sacred? Because this knowledge was hidden from you. That's why you can know it if you want to. If you want to find out the reasons why they gather people together into squads. Squads teach you to obey your superior, even some nobody who is put in charge of you. You will obey. Of course you will obey. What else can you do? But all this energy, all these chants, these celebrations, it's all about generating energy, releasing children's energy, which feeds someone. I don't like conspiracy theories. I just dismiss them. But this does exist. It's not a conspiracy, although you could call it a conspiracy. When some entity, our matrix. Why was the matrix created? So that someone, like a bee, a queen bee, could feed on your energy. And it's this energy that is consumed by those who are above us, above humanity. Humanity is now created within the framework of imperfection. Humanity is degenerative. And it was created in order to wage wars, to release a great amount of energy, and to fertilize the land. Born here, used here. That's why they tell you this. So that you become fertilizer for your own land. What else could you be useful for? Mindless, aren't you? If you have no head, if you have no understanding of life, what could you possibly be useful for? Just to have sex and give birth to your own child. Come on, friends, that's not serious. That's not the reason you came into this life. But that's exactly what they instilled in you, that you came here for this, for something primitive. Like amoebas, remember? We studied them in botany or biology class. About amoebas, about how they reproduce. By the way, there is one. The official coat of arms of the Soviet Union, which was one of the very first national emblems, I believe, from the year 1924. And prominently displayed on this significant coat of arms, you can clearly see these distinctive letters, SSSR. And quite fundamentally, the R is rather like a circular opening or a symbolic representation of something similar. And a stick goes into it. That's the coat of arms. That's the 1924 coat of arms. I'll make a video and show this photo, but that will be on my YouTube channel. I can't do it here. When I saw these photos, I realized this really is that sexuality of the revolution. The revolution was sexual when over the thinking part of humanity, they decided to put the Bobiks in charge. And these Bobiks, these little balls, these Sobakoviches, they all stood over the intelligent part of humanity. It was necessary to exterminate the intelligent part of humanity, and all sorts of Bobik-like Sobakoviches were put in charge of people. To make them more obedient, they started to unite them into a society. By the way, I sometimes don't recommend singing songs. I'm telling you, I graduated from music school, my friends. So I'm not someone who knows nothing or just denies things. I graduated from music school. I sang, but I just had solfeggio po solfeggio troika, yes. You can laugh, I don't mind, friends. You can giggle about this too. But music also takes away a person's energy. Because music, it consists of certain notes that influence a person's consciousness. I am Tanya Karatsuba, Said Burhan. Today, December 12th, 2025. Christmas is walking the earth. Congratulate each other.